Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I...
Welcome back, SportsRanter Nation. We are your hosts, Jacob, Nico, and Ben, coming back to you again every week live 6 p.m. after another crazy week in fantasy football. And week 13 is over, and if you've been playing long enough, you now know we are in week 14. It's a really, really heavy week in fantasy football. We have many different things happening in multiple leagues, standings. It's crazy. So with that being said, we want to go ahead and bring up our league standings right now to kind of share with everybody what needs to happen. This is not right. This is correct. Okay. Holy smokes. So we were talking about it real quick before we got live here, but we got a lot of situations. Nick, if you could kind of take it away, kind of what we're seeing here in our standings. We got a lot of things happening here. For the first time ever, the 3 times champ is 0 point. He's out of the playoffs. So that's kind of the first time we've seen that in a while. A lot of crazy things happening. But Nick, let us know what your situation is and what's going to happen going into this week.
My big week was really big last week. Really needed that win. Um, if you can see, my percentage is 92% now, so I'm feeling good. I've had the most points all year, so I have the tiebreaker over everybody, which, we talked about a few weeks ago is gonna come down to that tiebreaker. But I will like to point out, which is I don't think I've seen this in the years that I've ran this league, is we are going into the last week and nobody has locked a playoff spot.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nobody
it's
is
wild. Yeah.
100%. Like you normally
Wow.
have two, three, four people,
Right.
and it's just the last couple spots. Like seating might change, but like you're guaranteed in. Literally, nobody's guaranteed at this point. Like there's a scenario
Wow.
that you may miss the playoffs. Even us at 97%, 92%, there's obviously a scenario
Right.
where you miss the playoffs, right? Otherwise, it'd be 100%. So that is what's crazy about this year. And what the other thing that's crazy is literally like I played Michael Orr. If he wins, he pretty much locks up the one. By him losing, he could either be out or now he's going to be like the 5 or 6. I then can win and end up getting the one when I was like 6-6 2 weeks ago. So like even the one seed is it literally can be the 6 seed who or 5 that's now could be the one by the end of next week, depending on all the scenarios. And I will like to point out again to our viewers the way I set up my league, and I love it, and this is why it creates madness and it's awesome and it's entertaining, is the first 3 weeks of the season you play your division, and the last 3 weeks you play your division. And it just makes those division games so crucial, which is exactly what we're seeing now. And it makes it fun. Yes, it's stressful and all that, but it makes it fun. So, I for my team, I'm sitting pretty. I play Christian, the 3 time champion, pointed out. He's got a lot of people on bye, not a very strong team. So I really think I'm confident in winning. But even if I do lose, the points, should get me in regardless. Obviously, I'm not 100%, but I'm at a 92%. So I'm not as stressed as I was a couple weeks ago. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, I want to win and get that, number one, potentially number two seed. I just want that bye, which I could still possibly get because I'm only one game back of the 2 bye weeks, right? Everybody's 8-5. So I have the most points in the league. So if I have a tiebreaker with anybody with the same record, at which my record would be 8-6. So assuming one of them lose and I'm 8-6 and win my division, I'll get the 2 seed at minimum. So that's that's my scenario. That's where I'm sitting. And Jake, I'll throw it over to you because I know your situation's a lot different.
Yeah. Nick, it's crazy because like I'm just looking at the points for and against, and I mean you're just the amount of points you have. I mean you're 150 ahead of the next guy, but you've only had there's been 6 people that have had more points against them scored than you. So how you are not like 8, 9, 10 to whatever is mind blowing to me. Like, but
So I will say there's been so on weeks where I've blown up, like 160, 170 points. I think one week was you scored like 80 something points. Another person scored like 90. Like, so I have had those outliers where I score a lot that I didn't need to,
Right.
and then, but the opponent only scored like less than 100 points.
Right.
And then so on the flip side, my losses, a lot of I'm 150, they're 160.
Yeah, it's
Because
close.
I went and looked at that too. I'm like, I don't even have that many points scored. Like, how am I 6-6? Like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And
Yeah.
that's where it was. I've had a consistent good amount of score, but when I have won or blown up, the other guy's not even competing. It's like 80 points, 90 points. So that really skews the value there.
I just love the fact that Jake is still hanging in there for the playoff
Well,
win. You know what I'm saying? I love it.
and so I need
What's his percentage?
I'm at 53% chance to make right now.
Wow, that's a coin flip still.
Well, and
Damn.
so what needs to happen? What needs to happen is I play Mario this week, who's 4-9, and I looked at his matchups and all this and that, his roster and stuff, and I mean, it's hard to say this with the way my season's gone, but I feel like I should have this one. But what I really need to happen is I need Action Jacksons to beat Andrew, because if I lose and Andrew wins, we tie. Andrew wins on points. He gets in the last spot because we're close. So I need to win, and if I win, I would go 8-6. And I guess if Andrew wins, he goes 7-7. So I just really need to win, and I need to do it. I think I'm going to need some help because let me see. Jaden.
Scroll back down, Ben. Scroll back down.
Jaden Full. He's got more points than I do. You know, not much. 60. I need a win, and I do need a big game. The last 2 weeks, it's not only been, my last 2 losses, I should say, have not only been losses, but it's like I've only put up like 90 points. It's just nothing has happened, So I got to go for it. I might have to make some starts or pull some guys off waivers that are like some boomer bust kind of guys. It's just like, every time I start Deebo Samuel, it's like there's no chance of him having a boom game anymore. So I gotta figure out who I can pick up and who I can start that has just that chance, because just a win may not do it. Let me see, what am I in points right now? I think it's because I'm eighth in points scored, and Joe Shaba only has 10 more points scored than me, and the next guy above him is only 36. So if I can have a good game and win, I'll lock it in.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, Joe Scabo wins, though.
To what Nick said, like, I have a in my league I do the same thing. First 3 weeks and last 3 weeks are your division, and as we brought up last week, we have a division in mind that last week, before last week's games, they were all 5-7. That really delivers incentive for people to keep playing, because if we were just in a 1 through 12 and the top 6 teams make it, those teams they ain't looking to they're quitting, they're done. But now, because you're in a division, people are down to the wire, so it's really it's the best way to do the schedule. I don't know why anybody would do it any other way.
It's absolute batshit crazy. It's very similar to the Carolina Panthers still being alive for the playoffs at 3-8 or whatever, 3-9. It's ridiculous, because the whole division really truly changes that up. Like what Nick was mentioning earlier, that Hidoko schedule puzzle. I've been stressing my other commissioner to make it happen, because I'm tired of losing to the same dude 4 times in a season. It should be structured the way you do it, Nick, where we're playing divisions, and this comes down to the wire. It's another factor at the end of the year that I think truly makes it exciting. But looking at our playoff bracket projections right now, this is where it stands. Right now, I think if we were over right now, I'd have a bye week. Okay, but like Nick was saying, nobody has clinched. This is the way it looks, but we still have one more week. There's a situation where I could win, but I could still lose the bye week. And so it's really one of those situations where now we just kind of make sure we set our lineups correctly, and we have to enjoy and watch it and see what happens. But speaking of that, we need to move along to our next portion of our podcast here, which is Stardom Situm, right? I'm sure we all have some crazy situations this week. It's week 14. We all need wins to get into the playoffs in multiple leagues. So, thank you, Seth, here for joining. Sorry I didn't see you. We're getting moving here. Please ask us your start sit questions if you have them. But I'm going to go ahead and start it off with my question in our league. So please feel free, guys, to sabotage me if you need to. It's okay. But I might sabotage myself with this choice. I started Brock Purdy last week. For some reason, I thought that was a fantastic play in the snow against the Bills in a high-scoring game. Obviously, the Bills came through on their end, but I just thought Brock Purdy would at least come through on fantasy points. I shit you not, Sunday morning, guys, I was sitting on the waiver wire looking at Jameson Winston, and I told myself, he is not a better option against the Broncos Monday night than Brock Purdy against the Bills. And so I let it be. Had I done that, I would have won, but it doesn't matter. So I want to know, you guys, I only got a couple options. I got Brock Purdy, okay, going up against Chicago, or I've got Aaron Rodgers versus Miami, I think, or Aaron Rodgers versus, I forget, but
Aaron Rodgers, I think, is against Miami.
Yeah, Miami, I thought.
Yeah, they're in Miami against against the Dolphins.
So I have Devontae Adams as my number one receiver, so I like the tandem. But Chicago is just falling apart. We're going to get to that here in a second. So just what you guys think that's, and I thought that was a cool question to ask, particularly with these two quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers against Miami or Brock Purdy versus the Bears. Championship week. And these are my only options.
If it's those two, I'm going back with Brock Purdy. Just losing McCaffrey and Jordan Mason, and the fact that they need to win, and the fact that they're at home, it's like I'm going up. I'm doing that. Aaron Rodgers is awful. He's just awful. I wouldn't touch anything. Under no circumstances, I would rather play Aiden O'Connell than Aaron Rodgers at this point, honestly. I mean, no joke, but that's who I'm going with.
Well, thank you. Nick, you got something for
Yeah,
me?
I mean, I was trying to go back. I'm like, how many big weeks has Aaron Rodgers had? Like, he's had 2 weeks over 20 points. Brock Purdy has had 6. So even with a, say, better matchup, you're barely going to get 20 points, and that's if he has his best week. I'm looking in another league, so in our league it might be scoring a little different, but yeah, I would stick with Brock Purdy. Kind of a bounce back week. Normally a good team that gets embarrassed. Buffalo, they got spanked. They're gonna come out fired up. They have to win. They're not gonna be able to run the ball that much. I mean, Guerrero might do something, but you're gonna have a lot more passing attempts. And like Jake said, you first guessed this 2 years ago, Ben. The Aaron Rodgers experiments in the Jets is not going to work.
They're talking about benching him. Like, he could go out and have a terrible quarter and, throw a pick, and they bench him,
Like, honestly, the thing is, the way I look at it is, like, what's going to shock you more? If Aaron Rodgers throws for 300 or Brock Purdy throws for 150? I think Aaron Rodgers throwing for 300 would shock you. I mean, would shock you more.
Yeah.
Right? That would be more of a shocker than if Brock Purdy, like, you're gonna get more shocked by Aaron Rodgers having a good game than say Brock Purdy repeating what happened last week.
Brock Purdy could throw for 150, but still throw 3 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns.
Yeah. So
he's still got some playmakers. Juwan Jennings still there. Debo's still there. Pearsall will play more now that McCaffrey's probably out. They'll mix in more 3 wide receiver sets and stuff like that. Kittle's still there, right? Kittle didn't get hurt. Like, they're probably going to sling it a lot more and try to get points on the board, because the other thing is the Niners defense ain't that good. They've been giving up the points too. So I wouldn't worry too much about the snow and just start with the guy you went with all season.
I gotta say that I went with Brock Purdy because he is the guy who has got me multiple wins. He scores when he does do well. He's up in the 30s, and so, I
wouldn't say it was a horrible play. It is sketchy, but like, we've seen it where I know it's Tom Brady, but still, you're like, it's snow game. they're not gonna throw that much, and he throws for 5 touchdowns against
Yeah.
Tennessee. Like
Yeah.
you never know, and Allen did just fine too. So
I got one for you guys, and it's tough. And I'm going to ask you guys this because we're on our show, so you guys have to be honest, and it's in our league.
100%.
So my quarterback struggles all year, waiting on a quarterback, or actually, no, I mean, I drafted Dak and then he got hurt. But would you guys start, do or die, Derek Carr at the Giants?
Wow.
At the Giants. Or would you start Jared Goff, who's at home, a different quarterback at home, but against the Green Bay Packers on Thursday night? Goff over Carr.
is Carr at home?
Carr's away.
Against who? Against who?
Against the Giants. Derek Carr against the Giants.
How's that New York weather?
29th ranked defense for against quarterbacks, and then Jared Goff against Green Bay, but he's at home where he's typically a different quarterback at home.
Well, let's look at the number one. The Saints are in to win it, okay? Because they're 6-6, just like the Bucks. Or no, the Saints aren't in to win. They're out. They're last place in the. Anyway, so I don't know. Like I have Chris Olave. He's on injured reserve. They're thinking about sitting him for the rest of the year because the Saints aren't really in the contention anymore. But neither are the New York Giants, right? And so you got two teams that are basically out of the playoffs that are gonna go for it. So at this point, what are they playing for? Pride, So I don't know.
Well, typically, though, I don't think the Saints. I'm not sure what their record is. I'm looking it up right now, but I mean, I don't think they're mathematically eliminated though. And typically, teams are not mathematically eliminated. You're still playing,
Right. But I think this is going to be a good game between the Packers and the Lions. Obviously, the Packers are still in the race for a spot. I just feel it's like it's going to be a game. So out of these two options, I'm going to go with Jared Goff and the Hot Lions. Go ahead.
Goff is so scary.
I'm going Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Too much of a risk. I mean, there's this rankings that I follow. I won't give away my tips, but they got Goff rated as the 8th quarterback, and Derek Carr's the 19th.
No shit.
So to them, it's not even close as far as this week who to start.
Not going to say I'm making the change right now.
But look, I did the same thing last week with Brock Purdy. It was It was your league, Jake. I chose between Brock Purdy or Jared Goff against the Bears, and I decided to sit both Jared Goff and Laporta in that game because the Bears have the number 1 defense and they're so good. I don't know what talked me out of it, but if I had started Jared Goff in that game, it would have got me a win. It may not have changed the standings in that league, but at least I would have still won.
I got a crazy one.
Perfect.
So in my other league, so it's not this one. You guys don't got to worry about it, but we had the same question, and I forget. It might be the same exact one, but what was? Do you guys remember off the top of your head what was the tight end question last week?
No, I
It was
don't.
Kyle Pitts, and somebody else. Correct?
Yeah, the correct answer to that one is always somebody else.
Okay, so let me.
I
have Kyle Pitts and Will Dissly.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
So I went with Kyle Pitts last week. All right.
I picked him up too in the league. Yeah.
So just so you guys know, for our viewers out there, they both got 0 points.
Oh God.
Kyle Pitts and Wesley got 0 points. So it didn't matter what I would have done. It's 0-0. So I'm sitting here again a week later. I'm like, who do I start?
Pitts didn't even get a target. He didn't even get a target.
Like what and they were playing each other obviously last week, Atlanta and the Chargers, right? So
yeah.
Neither tight end, for some reason, these defenses know how to shut down a tight end. So I don't know. I mean, in the rankings, they have Dissly 12th and Kyle Pitts 14th. So it's kind of a toss-up. Neither one is in the top 10. So neither one is a true number 1 tight end that I have on my team. yeah, I keep going with Pitts. He's the guy I drafted. Will Disley I picked up, off the waiver wire a while ago, and
I'm taking
luckily my
Disley.
team's doing okay. But like, I don't want to get into. I've clinched the playoff spot, but like moving forward, I'm like, dude, these guys are driving me nuts.
Yeah, the Chargers without Dobbins, Edwards, and that rookie, but they can't run the ball. They're gonna have to throw the football. I understand, like they can slow down the clock and they play good defense and this and that, and they don't have to throw it much and still beat teams. But Quentin Johnson is not it. Lad McConkey has been hurt. Like Disley has a way higher floor and ceiling compared to Kyle Pitts, in my opinion.
And looking at the matchups, I mean, Kyle Pitts plays Minnesota, tough defense. Chargers play the Chiefs, also tough defense. But the Chiefs recently have struggled,
Yeah.
and they've struggled against the tight ends. Like Brock Bowers destroyed them,
Yeah.
with Aiden O'Connell throwing them the ball. So the Chiefs have been susceptible to the tight end. So I think you're right, Jake. I think I'm going to go with Will Disley this week and pray that I get a point.
In the tight end landscape, I like in probably half my leagues, I would be totally fine with Disley over some of the guys I got.
I'm looking at just to be the devil's advocate. I'm looking at the matchup. It's Atlanta versus Minnesota, correct? And
Correct.
In my mind, that's a heavy NFC game, standing wise or whatever. So, I'm just letting you know, I'm being real. It's not our league, right? When I look at that situation, I just see a good game, a good scoring game. That's going to come down to it. And so I see points in this game. So for some reason, I like Kyle Pitts in this particular matchup. Like you said, they both had zeros last week. It's hard to find the right variable of who to choose when they're both posting zeros. In a week when Clay scores 2 touchdowns on the Bucks versus the Panthers, some wideout, some crazy tight end that nobody knows about, helps nobody, gets 2 touchdowns. We're here starting tight ends with 0 points, So it's like I wouldn't know if I could suggest to you to go to the waiver wire either, because it's just a stab in the dark, right, to see who's going to pick it up. So maybe that's an option for you. Is there somebody else on that waiver wire that's consistently giving you more than 1 point? Right, per week. Is that a better play for you?
If they are, they're not on the waiver wire. I don't think so.
Well, I was gonna say at this point,
actually, you know what?
Man,
because the matchup
in our league, Fryermuth is still there. It's like he's one of those guys. It's funny when you I've picked him up and dropped him a few times in a few leagues. And it's like every time I pick him up and play him, he has a garbage. Then the next week he goes out and he puts up a good game, for the tight end spot. But they play Cleveland this week, and Cleveland just gave up a ton of yards. So who knows?
Yeah, Fryermuth is available too, but
the other guy, and I know that we're kind of steering very clear of, the waiver wire stuff, but now with Taysom Hill out, Juwan Johnson in our league is still on waivers, and with you got Olave is out, and there's going to be targets to be had. They may not have to throw the ball that much, but Saints, you got an interim coach. They want to win. Everybody wants to make a good impression. They're not technically out of it. They're playing the Giants. It may be a game that they try and just and beat the crap out.
So not to throw that little wrench in there, Jake, with your question, but Taysom Hill got a lot of action under center away from Derek Carr. Now he's
Which is why I picked up Carr now that he's out.
So that's the one wrench I would put in there. It's going to be all Derek Carr. There is no reps being taken away. Passes, right. All that from Taysom Hill.
Goal line stuff, yeah.
So that's another liar that you might have to consider going into next week. Okay, but Seth, if you're there, thank you for joining us. Thank you for filling up our comment space. If you have a start-sit question, please let us know. I'm sorry that you're eliminated from Jake's league in that horrendous division of yours. It's crazy, right? You quite fairly, you should be winning. But anyways, we're gonna move forward, guys. If you guys don't have any more situations, we have to talk about.
A lot of people on bye this week, so it's hard to determine. Like, I got like 4 people on the bench, so it's like not even like a decision.
That's right. Shout out to my opponent this week. We're going in for week 14. We're going in for bye weeks. I think I have a good chance because my opponent, who can win, can easily clinch a bye week. He has bye-mageddon, right? Most of his roster is Commanders and Ravens, and they're both on bye week. So
Is this the Knicks league?
This is in Knicks league, yeah.
Okay.
And so going into this week in a very crunch time, even though he's my opponent, I really feel sorry for him. I really do feel sorry for him. As we'll take easy wins, but as a competitor, you want to go against the best. You want to go against a guy who's got all his guys in there and know that you beat him fair and square.
Oh, Ben, I need you to win. Oh, I need you to win. He's the other guy.
He's the other guy?
Win. He's the other guy that I have to. If he loses and I win,
need Joe. You need Shabo to lose too. You need Mike to win.
Yeah.
That's a
yes,
trick.
I do.
I want Mike to lose, which sucks for you because if Mike loses, I win. I get number one. I get a bye week.
Yeah.
Because I'll win my division. And I got most points.
Oh yeah. Oh, Mike is so on tilt. It's unbelievable.
He was cruising 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was cruising 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 4-0, 5-0, put the league on notice, then he loses like 3 in a row. Anyway,
that's what happens. If you can't open your mouth until those projection bracket is solid, right? You can't open your mouth, you guys. But let's move forward, guys. A lot of situations, a lot of funny things happening in this league this particular week. A lot of things that make me scratch my head. It makes me feel like Jake, Nick, me, we could be coaches in the NFL. Or we could be GMs. I'm trying to figure it out. Like, how are these guys getting paid so much money to make these fucking decisions that they are? Number one, let's start with the Bears. And they fired, obviously, their head coach, rightfully so. But everybody, the whole world, I think everybody's wives were like, what is going on watching this game, right? Like, that with timeout, right? With the game on the line. I'm sorry, guys. We've watched this for 20 straight years. What the blueprint is going in for that win. So I just want to know, like, what you guys think about it. Obviously the Bears did the right thing, but it has to go to the GM and all this. It makes me feel great with the connection with the Panthers trade. I was loving it. But anyways, Jake, why don't you start us off? What the hell happened?
It was just inexcusable bad football. And the thing is even before the botched timeout, people remember they were down like they were down like to the 20-yard line. Then I think they got a penalty and then they got a sack that took them like out of field goal range. But it's like, don't think these quarterbacks have radios in their ear and stuff that are communicating with the sideline. At some point, as a coach, if you can't remember that you have a timeout and you're aware of the clock, holler in your quarterback's ear, get a play or call a timeout or something. But, run at some point, at 15, 14, coach, you gotta call a timeout. Like, I don't know what you're thinking. And the thing was there was players on the sideline when the clock was like 12, 11. There were players that weren't even starters that were like just shaking their head, like, hurry up. It was like the only people that didn't know that were aware of the time was the quarterback and the coach. Like, this is the Bears. The Bears are the Chicago Bears. They always are. They always will be. This coach, needed to go anyways. They fired the offensive coordinator and Caleb Williams, and the offense started playing a lot better and all that. But this coaching regime obviously wasn't the right move. Wasn't the right one. They need to start over. Unfortunately, you hate to see with I'm not a big Caleb Williams fan, but I'd never like to see a guy that's, got a lot of talent and promise. First year he's in one offense, and then they're going to have to bring in a whole new regime next year. And it's just what happens with these quarterbacks. Why, we've talked about it a few weeks ago, and just why so many good college talents don't amount to anything. And this is it. You get these new coaching regimes that are idiots, and you would never see a Tomlin or a Belichick or a Harbaugh, in that situation. It's just ineptitude. It was really bad. Glad they fired him. Caleb Williams is not off the hook. I think he's really getting off the hook with it. Like, he looked like he had no concept of the clock, getting to the line and this and that. Obviously right move. Just the Bears who they thought they were.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blessing in disguise, like Jake said, because like it gave them the perfect excuse to fire him, whether they're going to or not. If say they kick that field goal and end up winning the game or something, he probably keeps his job, right? So I think it was a blessing in disguise. There's just a couple things like just don't make sense, and again, this is why it warranted him getting fired. Is, I remember playing football, like, when you got one timeout left and your quarterback gets sacked, that's literally the time you use it, right? Like if you complete a pass or something, so there's two times you use your timeout. A deep pass, right, 30 or 40 yards, is gonna take your time, your offense to get all the way down the field, or when your quarterback gets sacked, because that puts everything in shambles.
Right.
Quarterback's on the ground, you got linemen on them, like you can't get up fast enough. Now, if you don't have a timeout, yeah, you do what you can, you get up, you spike it. We've seen that before. But when you have a timeout, you want your quarterback he just got sacked. Your tackle just let a guy run in free, unblocked. Yeah, he wasn't ready. Like, timeout, let's regroup.
They had 33 seconds.
Yeah, let's just, that should have been sign number one. Like, your guy, literally, your tackle just let not a random blitz, the free edge run in. You were confused. Your quarterback sacked on the ground. Hey, if that doesn't scream at you timeout to get it under control, that's one. And then the other thing, I think, you go to the press conference, he's like, yeah, I think we did everything right.
Oh.
Like, what are you talking about?
You own it.
Like, you don't even own up to it. Like, you're just like, yeah, I think we handled it right, and it is what it is. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is either doesn't care or he wanted out. Like, we don't know his some people have some internal motive. Maybe he wanted to get fired, maybe he didn't like coaching anymore. It kind of looks like it on his face. Kind of didn't look like he wanted to be there, but I don't know. It was mind-boggling to me. It was sad to see, because again, as a football fan, you don't want to see games end like that. You just don't. Like Ben said earlier, you want the best against the best. You want to compete. You just want to see, hey, give it your all, and the winner comes up top, out on top. Like, that just feels like we got cheated, as fans. It's like, man, that sucks. Like, we could have had a dramatic finish and all that. Instead, we get,
That's perfect.
Well, the thing is that win, despite all the problems the Bears have had, that win knocking off the Lions on Thanksgiving Day, that would have probably saved his job for another year. It's like, what are you doing? Be in the moment.
100%. 100%. You guys hit it on the nail. Like, there's been a script for this. Like, we know. Like, you expect that timeout to be called in certain scenarios, blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, the whole world was watching, and we'll see. Now, Caleb Williams is in a very similar situation. He got drafted. He won some games, but now his whole regime is fired. Just like Bryce Young, he goes into year 2 with a whole new regime and a whole new thing. So as a number 1 pick, we'll see what happens. But it kind of goes into what we're talking about. I watched some TikToks over that situation with Caleb Williams and the Lions. Many people say it had to do with the betting spread in Vegas, and someone called in and blah, 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 blah. That's the reason why they didn't do a timeout, because we're seeing things like this around the league everywhere, every week. For instance, last week, Nick, did the NFL bribe the center of the Raiders last week? Go.
No. If they did, just so you know, if they did, that center is a really good actor, because I don't know if you saw how effing heated he was during that whole, after they called it, and he was pissed at the refs. But, if anything, they paid the refs against the Raiders like they always do, but that's a different point. I mean, I'm not going to say, obviously it's a botch snap. The Raiders messed up. They need to own up to it and all that too. But, these I don't know why these rules come out of left field against the Raiders. Like I don't understand. A rule that no one's ever heard of. I bet you, Jake, you've never heard it. Ben, you've never heard it in your life. If the clock is stopped, if the clock was running, it's a false start. But because the clock was stopped, it's an illegal shift. Have you ever heard that in your life?
No.
Uh-uh.
No.
Uh-uh.
So they
Why
come out
was
with
the
this rule, and okay, maybe it is the rule. Maybe it is the rule. But why do they only come out on controversial games with the Raiders?
Why was the clock stopped?
For
Was
the
it an
Chiefs
incomplete pass?
against the Raiders.
we spiked it. We spiked
Okay,
it.
got it.
Right.
Okay.
Just like the tuck rule, just like the tuck rule was only used once ever in history, and it was that Raider game. This rule is going to be the same thing. No one's ever going to hear this rule ever announced again. And the thing that makes me upset is if that's a rule, that's fine. The problem with that, you can blatantly see the ref, the top sideline ref, he's running in, signaling false start with the whistle in his mouth. And the Raider guys said they heard a whistle. Now, of course, they come out, no whistle was blown, of course. But you could see it in the video. He's running in doing this. Once that's already called, it's a dead ball. Like, I don't care if that ref effed up or whatever. We've seen that. Once he does that, players stop. They see a ref running onto the field like the play's dead. You could not say that's a live ball. That's only if that's the rule and it would have happened legitimately and we just fucked up, fine. But when the ref is running in doing that, the rule doesn't apply anymore. The play is dead. So it was frustrating to watch. Now as a Raider fan, I want that number 1 overall pick, so it's another bittersweet thing. But the one game I want to win is the game in Kansas City, and I want to see that Patrick Mahomes lose as many games as possible. So that was the frustrating part as a fan. But hey, we got that number 1 pick as of right now. So
what do you know? Another end of the game controversial call that goes in favor of
the Chiefs,
Kansas City Chiefs. And need I say more? They went in and they initially called it one way, and then they changed it to call it another way to have a runoff. So you couldn't run another play. I don't really need to say. I don't even need to really say very much about it. I will say this: we are in a time now where we have things like when we were kids, you got to watch 2 games on TV on Sundays, on your cable network and stuff. And now you got Red Zone, and we got all these different avenues to watch a ton of football. So it's like maybe we didn't realize it, when we were younger and all that. But you see now that not every team has a Tomlin, Belichick kind of coach. You have young teams with young quarterbacks, with teams with inexperienced coaches and things like that. And these mistakes do happen. That's just the way it is. And it seems like, now more than ever, but it's like now we're lucky that we live in an age where we get to watch, as much football as we want. But it's like, Raiders are a young team. They've had the quarterback carousel going fairly young coaching staff and all that. Same thing with Chicago. They just changed their coordinator and all that. So these mistakes and all that do happen. But as far as the bet spread and all that, I just think it's just another call that, like you said, Nick, we'll never see it again. Nobody will ever remember it, but they, whether it's even a real rule or not, God, how do you even figure that out? But to me, it's just another call that helped nudge the Chiefs over the finish line.
So the sad part for me, the one last point, is the minute they huddled up, I was like, we lost.
Yeah, you lost. Yeah,
They were looking around, Nick. They were calling out.
Because if he would have just came out, if he would have just came out, in my heart, I'm like, okay, false start. Everybody knew that. You thought it, Jake. Ben thought it. Okay, false start. Read down. We move back. I was more mad about the 5 yards back. I'm like, man,
yes,
Carlson can't kick a field goal this far. He's already missed 3 of them. Like,
yes,
we don't need that extra 5 yards. That's what I was thinking. The minute they huddled up, I'm like, we're done. We're screwed.
I'll never forget too, Nick. It was Friday night, right? The kicker had already missed a bunch, right?
Yeah, 3 of them.
Yes, and so that's what I remember us talking about in the text message. My wife was watching me go crazy because, I was watching it. I was texting with you guys. He had missed the 3 field goals. I had already said it, dude. I was like, okay, it's okay. right? If he makes the 1 out of 4 and wins
Who
the
cares?
game, it's okay. Like, it doesn't matter, babe. It's okay, babe. Watch. It's okay. That's literally what I said. And then fucking literally the fucking fumble. Like, we don't even get to see the kick now. Like, no. Like, no. Like, I was losing my fucking mind because it was the Chiefs. And there's gotta be a psychology about it. I'm gonna go into some WWE, WWF research. There has to be something about the hatred, like not wanting to see a team lose, right? Wanting to see Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair finally lose, and you never get it, right? Like, you never get it. I'm gonna do some research, guys, because I was pretty livid. I was pretty livid on Friday. I felt for you, Jake, but I'm sorry, I felt for you, Nick, but on Sunday, I got to feel exactly what you felt as well, dude. It wasn't against the Chiefs, but we're going in for the win in overtime. And Chuba Hubbard, my guy, fumbles the fucking ball instead of getting a game-winning field goal. And I immediately thought of you, Nick. I was like, that's what I get for laughing at Nick. But anyways, to clear off our last minutes here, we gotta talk about the Aziz Al-Shahir late hit. Suspended 3 games for his hit against Trevor Lawrence, who is now going to be out this week, right? So I know we all watched it. I know people have different opinions. Jake, go ahead and start us off if you can. Do you agree with the suspension?
So I saw a video today of just his just previous late hits and things like that in the past, and the dude's had some pretty dirty plays in the past and all that. I definitely agree. Like, think it was it was a late hit. This is by rules of the NFL and what they're trying to do to protect the quarterbacks. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence started to slide. He went in. To me, it looked like there was time to avoid, Trevor Lawrence. He threw his arm. He led with his arm. Thing is, as far as a 3-game suspension goes, I agree with the fine, but he didn't lower his head. He did not hit him with his helmet. He didn't put his shoulder down. He let in with his arm, and Trevor Lawrence's head, bounced off the turf. It was a dirty hit based on the rules of the NFL and what they're trying to go to today. He should have definitely got fined, maybe a 1-game suspension. 3, maybe they're looking at his past, but yeah, I mean, just based on what the NFL is trying to do, you as a defender have to know that when a quarterback is running, you got to just start easing up. I mean, it's like, I've seen Lamar Jackson do it so many times where it looks like he's running out of bounds, and then the defender kind of starts to ease up, and then he'll cut and go. He's not like Josh Allen, who just bulldozes people like an animal. Which I wish I had 90 seconds at the end of the show to give a Bills rant, but no, I do think it. Yeah, so I think it's probably warranted just based on the history of some of his cheap shots. But I don't think this hit was as insane as everybody made it out to be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jake. Unfortunately, the way the rules are and how it looks and all that, they're gonna call it. It's just part of the NFL now. And Jake, I agree. Like, I totally think they're looking at his history. And the thing is, too, if you saw how he acted after the fact, he's taking off his helmet. He's acting a fool.
A punk.
It's just, you can, and the NFL came out as like, dude, you have a lack of respect for the game. It's not necessarily the hit. It's like, you had I think he hit Jahmyr Gibbs or whatever 2 yards out of bounds. Like, he's doing things, that are the lack of respect of the game. So I think if he would have not acted like a punk and not acted a fool, maybe it's a 1 game like Jake said or whatever. But because of all his extra, attributes after the fact, his extra, show, and not having to be held back and all that. So, like, what are you doing, dude? You just knock somebody out. Just, hey, my bad, because the thing is, I don't know what you want to do as a defender. Like Jake said, like, if Trevor Lawrence goes to go for the first down, which He could have. Well, you want the defender to just stop running, like just stop and let him get the first down. The first down marker is right there,
Right.
right there. Like you just, and they're running. He's a safety or linebacker running from the other side. Like Ben, Jake, we played football. Myself, if I'm running full speed, yeah, good luck. Get out of the way. Like I'm not stopping in 3 steps. Like you
Right.
just can't.
Right.
Because mentality wise, you're already thinking I can't let him get the first down.
Right.
So I get it. They're gonna protect him. He slid it according to the rules. That's fine. But I don't know what else you want a defender to do. And like Jake said, he didn't lower his head. He did all the things like he led with the shoulder/arm, which they're taught to do now, not lead with their head.
The thing is,
It's
too, like
unfortunate he laid him out.
if a quarterback in that situation decides that he's going to dive head first, then all of a sudden, see, when they slide, you're down at the minute the slide starts. That's where you're marked down. If the game's on the line and this quarterback's going for a first down and it's win or lose to get that first down,
He's not sliding.
well, it's like if he slides, then it's you got to pull up and he's off. If he goes head first, then he's totally like you're able to hit him. But the thing is if you're pulling up because you assume he's going to slide, he gets those yards as he slides, as opposed to the yard stop where he starts to slide. It's very hard for a defender in that split second to have to completely react to all that.
Dude, I see it time and time again, and I swear to God, that's why Mahomes has his runs.
Yeah,
I swear to God, defenders, like, they know they're gonna get it, especially with the Chiefs and Mahomes. If I lay this guy out right now, I'm gonna get a flag. So they kind of ease up, and then Mahomes does a little one-step stutter, and he's gone. Lamar Jackson's done it a bunch of times. Like, I just, as a defender, like I said, I'm just saying, the rules are the rules. They're gonna throw the flag. Like, it is what it is. I've accepted that, but I don't know what else. My thing is, don't let him slide. Don't let him slide. Take that rule out. Take it out. If you run out of the pocket, you're a running back. How many running backs slide? You see a running back slide? No, they don't slide, right? Hey, you run outside the pocket, you're a runner. You no longer can slide. Or say,
I like that. I actually like that.
No, I do too. This is why I say you can't put quarterbacks into the discussion of the best football players ever, because they make rules and they do things to protect them. They're not true football players like Josh Allen, who says, fuck that, I'm going head first. Josh Allen is a football player, not just a quarterback, and that's what I'll give you your 90 seconds, Jake, don't worry.
I got to say this. I saw a video today of all the football analysts, ESPN people, NFL Network, at the beginning of the season talking about the Bills. It was a nice cut up and all that. People don't understand. The Bills they projected the Bills to be third in the East this year. It was supposed to be the Dolphins' year, and it was supposed to be the Jets. And everybody said the Bills, they don't have the talent. And the thing is they don't have the talent. You look at their receivers. You got Khalil Shakir, so little Khalil Shakir. You got Matt Collins, who's been cut from I don't know how many teams. And they called it this. Even the people in the Jets front up. This was a rebuilding year for the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills were not supposed to be contenders, and there is not one quarterback, not Patrick Mahomes, not Lamar Jackson. There's not one quarterback that would have this team where they're at right now without Josh Allen. Josh Allen scored that double touchdown this week when he threw it to Cooper. The reason he was even there, even close to it, is because he goes, I thought I threw a bad pass and I was going to go over and need to make a tackle. Like the heart and the just the grit that guy has in every single game to beat 4 defenders to beat the Chiefs, to carry this team where there's literally not any superstars. There's a complete lack of talent on this offense. And the reason that they are relevant, the reason they beat the Chiefs, and the reason why they're going to probably upset some people in the playoffs is because of Josh Allen. He is the MVP of this season. There is not even a question in my mind about it. Nobody in this league has done more with less than that man. Nobody.
I agree. And so I'm glad you had your moment to put it out there, because I agree. That guy's a football player.
Thank you.
He ain't Tom fucking Brady that, like, just, they call him the best football player ever. No, he's the best quarterback ever. He stands back there like a little, and just, whatever. I'm not going to get into it, okay? But I agree with you guys with the Aziz Al-Shaair. It's tough. I do believe you hit on the nut. It's the way he acted after the fact.
Yeah.
It's that class, own up, like you said, own up to it. When I saw him acting like that, I was like, F that guy. Before that, I was like, no, dude, it's defense, dude. Like, it looks worse than it was because he's sliding. He didn't hit him in the head, but it just looks bad because of the way it went down, the momentum. He slammed his head, so it looked bad, you know? It was worse, you know, but at the same time, I mean, guys, we watched and were raised with football where defense were really built off of fear.
Yeah.
This is literally what it was. You feared Rodney Harrison. You feared Ed Reed. You feared Ray Lewis and Urlacher.
Polamalu.
Yeah, you just feared it, and you don't really have that anymore. And so I kind of do feel sorry for the defenders, me being a defender growing up. Yeah, it's just, it shakes my head. I feel sorry for Trevor Lawrence, but even Aziz Shair for just playing hard. I'm not going to knock you for playing hard, but you're going to be a punk. You know, that's different. You know, that's different. And so, with that being said, you guys, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you, Jake. Thank you, Nick, for joining us again this week. Thank you to our million viewers for joining us here at the Sports Ranter. We're still moving strong. Thank you, Seth, for filling up our comment space here once again. Hopefully, we get more people joining us slowly. We're going to get more people joining us. And but I appreciate your guys' time, okay? So that's it.
Yeah.
That's it for today. We'll see you again live next week, 6 p.m.
Good luck with this week, guys.
Saquon
Good
for
luck,
MVP.
everybody.
Saquon for MVP.
Good luck, you guys. Holy shit. We'll see. All right, guys, take it easy.
Later. He would definitely be number 2, though.
Peace out, Jake.
All right, later, brother.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got